This holiday project starts with a 1x6 by 8 foot long. Let's get started. We're going to take our first mark at 24 inches. Our next one's going to be at 20, and then our last mark is going to be at 16. We're going to cut each of these marks to give us 3 different lengths of board. First thing we're going to do is find the middle of each board. Go ahead and take a pencil and just mark it down the center. Now it's time to start outlining that Christmas tree. Now, some of you might go a little nuts on this because this Christmas tree is going to be a little bit different. I went with like a Dr. Seuss look. The next thing we're going to do is take a skill saw and cut out along the lines. I know in kindergarten we learned to cut and paint within the lines, but here at Hometalk we get a little rebellious. So if you're outside the lines a little bit, don't worry about it. After you get it cut out, the next step is to sand it so you can get off those pencil marks. Now, it's time to bring it inside, and we're going to go ahead and paint it. I'm going to do white on the first side here. Now, you can use any kind of acrylic paint or stain, but I wanted to give it some paint just because I wanted to do it with one coat. Now, got to be careful. We don't want it to go onto the unpainted edge yet. Once I got that dry and I turn it over, I'm going to paint the other side green. I'll show you why later. We're going to get this all painted up, and then we got to turn our attention to the base. This thing is 20 inches wide, and we're going to go ahead and stain it with our favorite color. You can paint it also, but I like to give it a stain, and dark walnut is my favorite. Besides, I had some sitting out in the garage, so it just came in handy. Once I get it all stained up and ready to go, the next step we're going to do is drill through it because we got to attach our trees to the base. So we're going to drill a simple hole in the back, simple hole right inside the center of the tree, and we're going to start with a little screw. And that's going to go right up there, but not all the way. Take some hot glue next, put it on the base, and we're going to put it right there in the center of the tree. Once that hot glue starts to set up, just go ahead and place that screw and hold it down. Next step is to grab some simple fairy lights. I routed out these holes earlier in the board and drilled the holes so that we're going to put all the fairy lights and just pull them all the way through. We want that fairy light switch to stuck to the base of the wood, so I put some hot glue there and just put it in there. As you can see, it's going to sit flush when it's standing up. Next step after this is we got to wrap our Christmas tree. Again, we're going a little dangerous here. We're not going to go straight across, but we're going to go up and at it with angles. Now, these fairy lights are really long, so watch this. Instead of going straight across, like I said, go at an angle all the way to the top, and when you get to the end, just use a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place. Now it's time to light it up. As you can see, on one side we got it white, and it's so simple because all you got to do is flip it around. And then what that does is that gives you something different to look at. Changes up the decor. I hope this inspired you to build your own 3 trees Christmas decor. Thank you for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.
Today I'm going to be taking these foam cones. They're very inexpensive, and I got them in 3 different sizes. A little bit of this Model Magic from Crayola, some sparkly lights, and some tape. And we're going to be turning this into some really pretty little holiday decor. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my lights, and I'm going to sellotape them around the cone. So I've taken my little fairy lights just from the dollar store and a little bit of this tape, attached tape to the top here, and I'm now just going to wind the lights around my cone. I'm doing it fairly tightly, and every so often I'm going to stop, take a little section of tape, just like this, and just attach it on here, just so that it stops the wire from slipping. Just keep going around until it's all the way to the bottom. Now, what I would say is, had I been able to get hold of those hollow cones, the ones that are made of papier-mâché, I would have done so, because then we could have just popped our little box underneath. But I couldn't get hold of any, so we're working with these cones instead, and that's perfectly fine. They'll do exactly the job we need them to do. So I'm down at the bottom, grab a little bit more of the tape, just going to pop that on here, and I'm just going to pop a bit more of the tape here and there across, just so that the wire doesn't slip when we're attaching the next part of this incredibly simple make. Starting at the bottom of our tree, I'm just going to put a little bit of this tacky glue all the way around. When I was first trying this out, I did use glue all the way up, but I found that this Model Magic clay actually sticks to itself really perfectly. So I'm just going to do it on the first layer. So all I'm doing is taking a little bit of this glue, clay, and I'm just going to stretch it a little bit, curl it a little bit with my finger, and then attach it just onto the bottom of here, just like that. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the second piece. And pull it so it's fairly thin, curl it up at one side, and do the same thing again there, just attaching it along there. Carry on all the way around, and as I said, I'm only putting glue on the very first layer here, and keep going all the way around. So let me do the first couple of rows, and then we'll come back and have a look at how it builds up. I'm just going to show you in a little bit more detail how I add these branches or furs or whatever you want to call them onto the piece of the tree. There we go. Just taking a little bit at a time, and I'm just making them quite ragged and just curling them in my finger a tiny bit and just popping them on. And as it builds up, it starts to bring about this real kind of holiday feeling of a tree. And I'm not having to use any glue or anything at all. And what I love about this is you could do this with the kids. You could have a little bit of fun. It's not messy. It's very easy, very clean to do. And you do get a very beautiful result. It's also incredibly inexpensive. As you build up around the trees, you find just different techniques for attaching each of the little layers. You can do long ones, you can do short ones, just a little one here. And this modeling magic is really great because it just sticks, but it's not sticky, which is fantastic. So let's do a long, skinny version along here now. I'm just going to make sure that it just sticks out a little bit. You can see it just sticks right to the polystyrene, whatever it's called, the white stuff. There we go. We'll just keep building these layers up until we get to the top. It really doesn't take long to finish these trees. Once you get into a rhythm, it's a lot of fun and very satisfying. Now you could leave these exactly as they are. They're very pretty. They've got a slight cream hue to them. They look lovely painted, or you could spray paint them. I'm actually going to leave them as they are, but I'm going to take some of this Mod Podge. This is a Mod Podge iridescent acrylic sealer, and it's a spray paint. I'm going to have to do that outside, so I've got lots of ventilation, and then I'm going to set these trees up and see how they look with their sparkling loveliness and the lights on inside them. So I add a little bit of shimmer to my Christmas trees, my holiday trees. It doesn't necessarily show up too well on camera, but they are so pretty, it's so simple, and I can tell you in real life they're sparkling away. I have loved making this for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're going to have a go.
To start this project, I want to remove the fabric from all of the lampshades I've collected. I'm going to do this to all the lampshades I want to use for this project. I also want to sand down this pole. I found this at the dollar store, and it was just a broom handle. To make sure the lampshades will slide over the pole, I need to remove the center rings from each one of them. In order to secure the pole, I've picked up a bucket of pre-mixed concrete. I'm just going to slip the concrete into a larger bucket for support, and then push the pole right down into the center of the bucket of concrete. While I love the shapes of the frames, I want to paint them and give them a more natural look. Now that the concrete is dry, I'm going to place the entire bucket and pole into a beautiful old crock that I have. To space out the lampshades and keep them in place, I'm going to put the lampshade over the pole and then mark where I'd like it to hang. I'm going to use that mark to add some hot glue to the back of the pole, and then I'm just going to wrap this twine around about 4 or 5 times and then keep it in place with some more hot glue. To finish off the tree, I'm going to add some little copper lights. I really love how thin the wire is, and it makes it super easy to wrap around the lampshades and the pole. I'm just looping them in and out around the lampshades, and that'll be enough to keep it in place. I absolutely love how pretty this lampshade tree turned out. It fits perfectly into a small space and looks magical lit up. I hope this has inspired you to upcycle some lampshades into a unique Christmas tree as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.